you fit in probably before he became, before EDSA.
Before EDSA,
Before
yes.
EDSA. Tell me, how did you get to know
Well,
each other?
my husband was assigned in Bacolod. And of course, we had to look for a place to stay. And we happened to stay in the Hara compound.
All right.
The Hara that owns the is related to Ming Ramos.
Mrs. Ramos.
Mrs. Ramos is the first cousin of Dr. Hara, Ricardo Hara Jr. And kasi si Nanay Josefa, the mommy of Mrs. Ramos, and Dr. Hara Sr. were brothers.
Oh.
So, doon sa compound na yon, when President Ramos as the chief of staff at that time would not stay in the camp and would stay in the compound, in the house of Dr. Hara.
Okay.
And so, being friends, they invite me to, when he's there, being a celebrity, a government high official. So, we would have what we'll call cocktail hour.
Oh, okay.
Dr. Hara Jr. plays the piano, and we would sing, and we would drink a little cocktail, wine, and that's how we got to know each other. And it was every time he goes to Bacolod or to that area, he would stay there, and that was the happy hour, we call it.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
How very Ilonggo. Actually.
Yeah. So when I joined government in the transition government of President Cory,
Okay.
and President Ramos won as the next president after President Cory, I was introduced to President Ramos by President Cory, and well, modesty aside, telling President Ramos that I am good at I'm doing her teleprompter, etc., etc. So she introduced me as LOLY.
Okay.
And then President Ramos said, "Why do you call her LOLY? I know her as Glo." Because my name really is Gloria.
Yes, yes.
And LOLY is my nickname at home. So that's how it is. So when President Ramos settled down as the president, I was appointed as the head of Radio TV Malacanang.
Yeah, there you are.
Yeah, because the former head, the first head after EDSA, was Maria Montelibano.
Maria Montelibano. Yes.
So
yes.
I headed that during the time of President Ramos, and I became his personal hair stylist, makeup artist.
Okay. I'll get to that. Let me backtrack a bit, Tita Loli. You remember what year that was when you first met? When you were at the Hara compound?
This was in the 70s.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it was in the 70s.
Constabulary pa siya. He was,
Yes,
in the
yes.
constabulary.
It was still constabulary, I remember, yes. And the head of the director, or whatever the title is, was Mel. He's a military man. His name is Mel.
Okay.
I'll get to that.
It's okay.
Goyena,
It's okay.
Goyena.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Mel
okay.
Goyena.
So 70s. And then, what were your first impressions? I mean, you were staying in the compound owned by
Cousins.
his wife's his wife's
Relatives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about that first meeting.
He,
Your first impressions of.
my first impression, kasi, right after EDSA, ano, I think it was
No,
still
yung
during EDSA.
yung first
That's
meeting mo.
our
Yung
first
sa,
meeting.
Oo, sa.
I found him very approachable, amiable, and of course, very military. But I could feel that you can go to him and tell him whatever your problem is. But he also knew how to manage time between his duties and making time for family, for friends, whenever he can. So that was my first impression.
Okay.
We hit it off very well because he was very amiable and fun-loving.
Did you get to meet him when? So you were already with President Cory at that time. Did you get to meet him during that time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, when but he was not often in Malacanang during President because I find President Ramos very proper. He doesn't interfere unless he is asked. That's my impression. So he would go there only when he's invited. And I met him there, and he would say, "Oh, nandito ka." Yes, Mr. President. No, well, he was not president yet.
General.
General.
Secretary. Yeah, because
He
eventually
became,
became
yes,
secretary, di ba?
the Mr. Secretary.
Oo.
So when there were cabinet meetings during President Cory's time, it was Maria who was in charge of. So I had very little.
Okay. So it was only during
the time.
transition,
Yes.
from President Cory to President FVR.
Yes.
So that was what? Just before the turnover?
1992.
92 na.
92 na, oo. 92. Kasi we had to coordinate
Yeah.
with the incoming president's staff,
Team, no?
the team, and so he was glad to see me. That was my impression.
Did he say something? Did he?
Yeah, well, I remember very well when he told President Cory, "Why do you call her LOLY? I know her as Glo."
Because he knew each other.
Yes,
from
we knew
from
each
way
other
back pa.
before.
Oo.
Yes.
Yeah, the transition teams, from
Yes,
Tita Cory to,
yes.
Yeah, you had to handle the
Yes.
inaugural.
Yes, that's
diba?
right.
Diba? The swearing
And then,
in, and then,
Also, the new technology of the teleprompter,
right.
and he was very happy. The President Ramos was very happy that we, Stella, our team, because actually it was only Maria who left, and I don't know who else, a few, but most of us stayed.
Yes.
Until the new president brings in his staff. So we were ready to go if the new team of the new president would come in.
Okay. You said he was very military. What does that exactly mean? You was strict? Masyado bang stiff?
Hindi naman, pero it's the discipline.
Okay.
The discipline. You must, if there is an appointed time, you must be on time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then, if you present to him something, and matter, an issue that needs his attention, you have to be very ready uh, to answer his questions.
Oh my.
Because he already knows. He already knows. I'll get to that, why he knows. So the keyword is complete staff work, CSW.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That was what was always in our mind, and I suppose also the cabinet secretaries and whoever
Yes.
goes to the president for some issues or matters to be discussed.
You never came to him unprepared.
Never.
Talaga. Oh.
You never go to him unprepared because otherwise it would be very embarrassing on your part.
Talaga. What happened? You remember some
Well,
incident?
he will not shout at you, never. He will not scold you, but he will say it in a way that
Oh, okay.
sasabihin mo sa sarili mo na, teka, hindi ko na gagawin ito, never again.
So he had a way of
Yes.
cutting words.
Yes,
that
yes.
sliced through you. Okay.
Yeah, I
What about
guess-
the look? Did he give you a look as well?
Well, you would know if he is not satisfied with what you're saying because he has this, people used to call him tobacco.
Yes. Yes.
He has this unlit
Right.
cigar.
Yes. Yes.
And when it turns around, it keeps on moving around. That means to say, you're in trouble.
Oh.
Be careful of what you're going to say because he's not satisfied with what you are saying.
But at least he's taking it out on the tobacco rather than
I guess
on
so.
you.
I guess so. And that would be yeah. On hindsight, I think that's a better way.
So instead of chewing you out, he'd chew.
Yeah, yeah.
He'd chew on the
That's
on
right.
the tobacco.
Chew on the tobacco. But he never lit it.
Yeah. Right. Okay. What about in private? Would he get mad at, just maybe 2 or 3 of you? Would he get mad then? Hindi naman.
He will never, if at all he would scold people, it will never be in public. He will never embarrass you in public, never. He probably will call you one-on-one on private.
Very professional.
Yeah, yes, very, very professional. But there's one thing about when we were in RTVM,
Yeah.
the president wants to know. He is a hands-on president,
Yeah.
a very admirable leader. He wants to know what's going on, not only in the Philippines, but all over the world.
Oh.
So we had to form a team
Okay.
to do the daily clippings of the newspaper.
Oh my. Okay. Yeah, I
It
remember
would,
that.
yeah, remember? It would start, it has to be, because he preferred to stay in Arlegui. He didn't stay in Malacanang. Because he feels that it's very expensive kasi Malacanang, I do not know now, was centralized aircon.
Oh, okay.
I guess that's the reason why President Cory also didn't want to stay in, because it's very expensive. Centralized aircon, all the rooms when you're only using it for official. So he stayed in Arlegui. So the complete staff work
Okay.
of all the clippings should be in Arlegui at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my.
Yes. How
So
do
what
we?
time do you start doing that?
How did we do it? Well, we formed a team. The driver and somebody would go to all the
Newspaper
newspaper
offices, yeah.
offices and get the first edition.
Right.
At 12 midnight, they start doing that,
My
or sometimes even 11:30. So you really have to have a team that has slept
Mm-hmm.
and be alert
Mm-hmm.
to to clip all of those, and it is categorized.
Uh, okay, how?
I mean, yeah, there are several folders.
Okay, okay.
It is by category, national, local,
Okay.
international, and then also
Mm-hmm.
by um, concerns.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, like
Special
when
issues.
you special issues when it deals with the cabinet, let's say
Mm-hmm.
public works, education,
Mm-hmm.
and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So we the team that we got were from our research,
Yeah,
and
the
it was
research unit.
composed of some of the research, even some of the drivers,
Okay.
and long, no. Uh,
Research in a Melba.
they became experts already. Ang bibilis na nila.
Mm-hmm.
But in the beginning, of course, everybody was tense. Baka hindi mali, baka mali, no? So what he does, and if it is not there at 4 o'clock,
Oh my.
he's already awake, he will call, where is it?
Oh my.
So it has to be really on time.
Oh my.
And so he starts that as soon as he gets it and makes his the usual red
Yeah.
ink
Red, black,
um,
green. Yeah.
notes
Yes. Yeah.
on the marginalized notes, instructions, comments, whatever.
Yeah, I
So that's
remember
how he
those.
starts his day.
Yeah, we would get Xerox copies, photocopies
Yes.
of those clippings with the marginal notes, and very
Yes.
often it's the marginal notes that are the story.
Yeah. I think his staff,
Yeah, yeah.
chief of staff, it was Balong. We call him Balong, Colonel Arevalo.
Yes.
And he's the one who after the president does his
Notes.
marginal notes, are they the ones who farm it out to the persons
The-
concerned,
the
the
appropriate,
cabinet,
yeah.
whoever. That was
Was that something he brought from the PCDND days?
probably.
Oh.
His military background really helped a lot in leading the country, because it was during his time that the Philippines got into the map. I mean, we were recognized, we were respected, the economy was good. And, this is very important. I remember he was saying that, judging from what he observed, why our country wasn't moving is there was no continuity of project. That's what he always wanted. And so there were some projects that was initiated even way back. I don't know who was the president before him. If the project is good, you must continue it. That's what he means. There is no political color because it's for the good of the country. That was his very, very important concern, and well, he did that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, his term is only six years, so
Okay.
You cannot accomplish much in 6 years.
Why stop a good thing? Ano?
Yes. Yun ang
Continue
sayang.
it, make it better.
Yun ang sayang.
Okay. Okay. Tito Loli, how did you get the job?
How did I get the job? Okay.
Executive Director of RTVM. 92...
86. 86. I
Yeah,
started
you got into
in Malacanang.
in RTVM, no? But here, yun nga, when FVR came in, you were already part of the transition
Yes,
team,
yes.
working with his transition team. And then, if I remember, USEC Press Undersecretary Rami Diaz for broadcast was concurrently was named concurrent capacity,
Yes,
di ba?
that's right.
As executive director
That's right.
RTVM.
That's right.
And then eventually it became you, di ba?
Yes.
How long did RSD Rami Diaz?
Well, he was
Ilang buwan lang, di ba?
he was undersecretary for media, and I guess, being an undersecretary is really a lot of job because you backstop for the press secretary. Actually, RTVM, by an executive order,
Yes.
is autonomous, but attached to the office of the press secretary for purposes of identification. But
Yes.
for all intents and purposes, we serve the president
Yes.
only.
Yes.
Because we are I should say, Radio TV Malacanang is the documenting arm, video documenting arm of the president for all his official activities for the purpose of a presidential video library.
Yes. Yes.
Kasi, we're transitioning to the technology,
Yes.
the modern technology, and that is what our objective was. That was the purpose of Radio TV Malacanang. So, Undersecretary Diaz was needed more on several things, and since President Ramos was traveling a lot, trying to put the Philippines back in the map. So President Ramos appointed me
There you are.
as the head of.
Oh.
I was really surprised. I did not expect that.
Okay.
So I was surprised, and I was very honored to be that.
You were happy where you were, but eventually
Yeah.
he appointed you. What was it
Less.
like? How did he tell you?
Well, actually, it started like this. I didn't know. I didn't have any inkling whatsoever. I worked well with the Undersecretary Diaz. As a matter of fact, most of his broadcasting he would pass on to us,
Yes.
to us in RTVM. And so Balong, Colonel Arevalo
Yes.
at that time, told me that he has something very important to send me. I said, okay. I mean, it's a daily thing from the president.
Yes.
But when I opened it, it was an appointment signed by the president, appointing me as the executive director.
Your appointment letter.
Yes,
Your-
signed. And I was privileged to have the oath-taking with my family at the ceremonial hall.
Wow.
And that time, the press secretary was
Reyes.
no,
Jess. Season? No.
yes, Secretary Season, Jess Season,
Right. Okay.
yes.
Okay. Talaga.
But we continued working well with Undersecretary Rami Diaz.
Yeah, and then
Yes,
he
we
got
traveled together,
correct,
remember?
and got posted.
The travelingest president.
Yeah, yeah. I'll be getting to that actually. No specific instructions from FVR.
No.
How you know
You know,
the
I'm
RTVM.
surprised now that you ask. He never called me to say what I'm supposed to do. Apparently, he already saw my capabilities, whatever it is, because there was never a complaint on what we were doing. Except that when nahuhuli ng mga a few minutes yung kanyang newspaper clippings, other than that, excuse me, other than that, none. And I didn't get any briefing from him, nor even from Balong or anybody.
I mean, it was understood that you guys should do a good job.
Or maybe we're
Should-
doing
should.
good.
So just keep at it. No?
Actually, I always say this. The composition of Radio TV Malacanang, the staff then really were so good. And I would say that it can run even without an executive director because they already knew. But for all intents and purposes, there should be a head where the buck stops.
Well, someone has to assume responsibility
take
over
responsibility.
But how did you transition? I mean,
It was not hard because during President Cory's time, I was Maria's media liaison officer.
yes.
And I would liaise with the media, both print and broadcast, and the entities, and so it was not so hard. It was not so hard.
Now that you were appointed to be executive director, at that time, what did you see as the most challenging facet of managing RTVM?
Not RTVM per se,
Okay.
but dealing with the various broadcast entities, especially on important issues. Because, you see, they have different needs. And we are the supplier of video clips of the president's activities.
Yung content
Yes.
and material.
But I find the hardest would be when we travel. Because when the president travels, there are different sections,
Right.
compositions. You have, of course, the president and his party. That is the first. Then there is the secondary party that's composed of the cabinet.
Yes.
Cabinet and his staff. And then you have the business, and then you have the media.
Yes.
Now, for the media, of course, the Office of the Press Secretary handles that. But when it comes to broadcast, it is the presidential broadcast staff, Radio TV Malacanang, who takes care of the broadcast part of the coverage of the president's activities abroad. And, you know, RTVM is composed of something like 165 people. That is engineering, production, admin, research, special projects, and all that.
And
You
close
compress that into five people.
Oh my. Okay.
Yes. So this is hard. And by virtue of I do not know how this came about. The Radio TV Malacanang heads the broadcast pool.
Cool. Yeah.
So I would have to meet first with the heads of all the TV
The
networks
agencies. Yes.
and tell them, what's going on, but all of it embargoed.
Right.
A- And it is, I am very happy that there was trust. Trust. Because you would go on the draft activities of the president.
Yes.
And this is not supposed to go out yet for security purposes and other things. And thinking back, we were good. There were little snugs here and there. You know, you're dealing with individuals,
Right.
and they have their own quirks and all that. And I would troubleshoot.
And they have
I
their
would
own,
damage control.
and they would have their own organization's interests in
Yes,
mind, right?
yes.
So,
But we, aside from the coverage that was assigned, the networks have time for their own,
unilaterals.
unilaterals. So it's not all the time that sunod-sunod ganon.
Right.
But we
right.
take care of where they will stay. We provide for the editing equipment.
Yes.
We provide for the staff
Right. Right.
to do the editing, and we also take care of the satellite transmission of the
The
news.
material.
And it's difficult when we are abroad
Right.
because of the time.
Time difference.
So
right.
it has to be here before the early evening news.
Right, right. Even the logistical challenges. di
Oh,
ba, Tita Loli?
yes.
Just moving
Oh, yes.
one crew
We
to
take
another
care
place,
of that.
and then bringing them
Yes,
back.
we take care of that.
Right.
We take care of the transporting of all the reporters to their different assignments, and it has to be before it's on time before the president arrives or before the event
Right,
starts.
right. Pre-positioning, I think is the term.
Yes, preposition is the word.
Right.
Yeah,
But
it was fun,
yes, it was. It was.
hard work, but I don't think we ever quarreled with anybody.
Did,
A few recalcitrants though.
oh, that would be nice. Hindi na natin sasabihin.
Of course
Oh,
not.
hindi.
Of
Okay,
course
sige.
not.
Okay. I was hoping you would. A few.
No, no.
But here's the thing. With some other presidents, the schedule may be light. No? Light and easy. Easy breezy, they say. But it was never a light schedule with FBR,
Yes,
right?
that's true.
And I think that was one of the most challenging.
Challenging and very rewarding, if I may say so, because you learn a lot.
Okay.
Number one is discipline.
Okay.
And then how to lead. To be a leader. He was really a great example of a great leader. And dealing with issues, no matter how grievous or difficult it was done very well, diplomatically wise and politically wise. I'm not a politician. I'm very apolitical, so
Yeah, but the schedule, Tita Loli, as you said, he had, easily about 5 or 6 events in a day. And heavenly if it was just in one place. But no, I mean,
yeah.
diba, this fellow liked moving around from one place to another. And that actually posed very difficult logistical time and motion
Yes.
problems for For RTVM, right?
So what we do is plan ahead. Planning is number one.
Okay.
What we do in our agency is we meet. Okay, this is the schedule of the president. I ask them their suggestions. We have we put what do we call that, leapfrogging if
Yes.
need be, leapfrogging if need be, but prepositioning if there is enough logistics, like vehicles and all that, manpower, equipment. So somehow we got the hang of it, and with the excuse me, very efficient staff, they we didn't fail, did we? I don't remember. So if at all, it must have been very insignificant.
So Team Philippines,
Team
microcosm
Philippines,
was
yes.
Team RTVM.
Team RTVM, teamwork,
Uh-huh.
that is what we learned. Teamwork. There was no upmanship in I think in every aspect of the administration. Like the cabinet secretaries, they worked as a team. We all worked as a team, di ba, Toby? I mean, we were like one big happy family. Oh, differences every time, every once in a while.
Yeah.
But we patch up and we,
But eventually, pulled
we're
through
happy
it.
together again.
Yeah. What was FVR like as a TV TV subject? Mabusisi ba?
No.
Makeup, hairdo. Was
Well-
he metrosexual?
No, it was our job to see to it that it looks good on TV.
Did he have an angle? I mean,
No
what
naman.
was the...
Very particular lang on, well, I see to it that he's he looks good, his face is not shiny, and very very little direction. Basta we and he's a very good. He follows instructions.
Okay.
He-
How would you give instructions?
In a very
Sir,
nice way,
don't do
Mr.
this.
President.
Okay.
Ayusin natin yung collar niyo. Bakit? Kasi especially,
Nakatikwat.
it's hard when you are wearing barong Tagalog. When you sit down, the collar goes up, right?
Okay. Yes.
So you have to
Yes.
tell him in a very nice and proper way how to do it. And it is to make him stand up and pull the back
Yes.
and sit on it.
Yes.
So no.
You taught him that?
Yes.
Sit down on the back flap of
I
his...
hope he remembers it.
Okay.
Anyhow, also we are very particular of the sheen, the face. Just very little, just powder. No,
He
no
wasn't-
makeup.
He wasn't picky.
No.
Not at all.
The president was not very picky because we knew how to comb his hair. I was the one who combs his hair
Okay.
and powders his face. That's all. He didn't have a makeup artist. He- we were his makeup
You were all
artist.
makeup artists.
Whoever, but most of the time it was I, because the other staff would be scared.
Yeah, I
They-
kind of
they-
remember
they-
that too.
But I guess it paid that I knew the president before he became president. So medyo komportable.
Yes.
Of course, the respect is there.
Yeah. He had a very high level of trust and comfort with you
Yes.
around, ano?
Yes, I believe so.
Which is, well, my question is, ano, so, did he bring a kikay bag?
No, never.
Or
As a
did
matter,
you bring it, or did
I
someone
do.
bring it for you?
I do, but I remember because I cannot when he goes to one place,
Mm.
I don't ride in the
Yes,
presidential
yes,
car,
yes,
and it is the chief of staff
yes.
who was Balong,
Mm-hmm.
so or his aide de
He's
camp.
8, yes.
So I remember it was
Louis.
Louis
Right, yes,
Opus,
yes.
and who else? Noel Barroseros.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Remember him? And what I did was I bought yung paper powder,
Yes, yes.
or I tell them to bring a face towel that is damp.
Mm-hmm.
So before he gets down to pat the paper towel,
Okay. Prepared na siya.
and, kasi I cannot do that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when he gets down, he meets already the people, so that he will look good on TV. I always make it a point that the president looks good on TV.
So, hair and makeup by Tita Loli and the entire RTVM staff. Ah,
Whoever was brave, ito takot. Si Stella most of the time. Kasi, ano siya love niya si Stella.
okay.
Lagi niyang kinakantsaw.
You mentioned mostly about the foreign trips. What about the local trips, Tita
Oh.
Loli?
The local trips.
Hindi ba ganun din yung logistical problems?
The same. But we travel by when he goes to provinces that are not accessible by land. We travel by helicopters.
Okay.
So I have a very fond memory of one place, but I don't remember. I think it was in Holo, somewhere. We are the cabinet secretaries going with the president and his staff that are approved to go with the president were assigned helicopter number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. So the chopper of the president is there. And of course, being choppers, they have to have spaces.
Right, right.
And I remember one place, I think this was in Olo. And Cora Alma de Leon was one of those in our helicopter number 4.
Okay.
Okay. So of course the position of the helicopter of the president is where it is nearest when he gets down from the
Right,
car.
right.
But kami, we have to be ahead and run and be in the chopper,
Load. Yeah.
be loaded and strapped and all that. Because if the president arrives and gets inside his helicopter and the door closes, it goes up. And if you're not there, because after he goes up, sunod-sunod na yan, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, chapter number 4, where we and Cora were assigned to, was very far. And it
Alright.
was an open field. I think it was a track and field that was allowed to, it's run down already. Sabi niya, sana ang helicopter na, ayun! So we were running. Loli, teka, sandali. Well, I was younger then, so I could run faster. So poor Cora was panting. And when we got there, I said, hilain mo si ma'am, hilain mo kami kasi wala na kaming puwersa. Sure enough, the moment we sat down, the president's car arrived. And that's the SOP, and we should know that. We should be aware of that. Anybody who is not aware of that will always be left behind. Nobody is waited on when the president's already in the plane or the car. If you're in a convoy, that was tough. And here, locally in the Philippines, it's more difficult because of transporting.
Right.
Yes, you have to bring. Oh, we ride in all
Sorts
hardwares
of
of the.
vehicles, yeah.
Yes, we ride in C
The C-130.
C-130.
Yep.
We ride in any in on any of those. It's hard. It's very hard. Harder than in abroad. Because in abroad, I mean, you have the help of the embassy
Right.
and the counterpart.
And the host, no?
Yes,
and
the
the host
host.
country. Oh.
Yes.
But when you're in the provinces,
Well, the local
yeah,
government
local
helps.
government, no?
But of course, the priority is the president and the
Right.
presidential party.
Right.
So if they don't have a PIO,
Then that's a problem.
you're on your own. You take care of yourself and look for facilities that are available there.
Right.
And you have to work with it, little or more.
How did the president take to mistakes? Like, yung coordination, or miscoordination, miscommunication during. I remember he would have a town hall assembly here, and then move to the next town and do exactly the same thing, town assembly. And yet, you have to be either pre-positioned or leapfrog, no?
Yes.
How would he take to yung miscoordination? He didn't like that,
Well,
I presume.
He would ride with it.
Oh,
And not show his displeasure at that time because you're in public. I don't think I don't remember the president has ever shown his displeasure on things that happened or was done by his staff or anybody else.
talaga.
I have not seen the president lose his temper. You know that he is not pleased. Kami. I mean, those who know him, who deal with him on a daily basis, we know. But to show it in public, he would call,
Yeah, yeah,
as I said,
yeah.
he would call the person in private.
What happened?
Yes, ano nangyari doon, etc., etc.
Yung sa mga SONA, for example, diba? Yung biglang tumigil yung prompter, that kind of thing.
Salamat sa Diyos.
Never.
Sa time namin,
Didn't.
never happened. Never
Okay.
happened.
But I suppose that's because start of the day pa lang tinetest na ninyo lahat.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I remember.
Oh, yes.
I remember.
And we say a lot of prayers. Because that is live. You know, that is the greatest fear in our coverage, live. Wala kang take two. Wala kang.
Yeah.
If something goes wrong, then that's it.
No luxury to go back and
No.
retake.
No.
No.
So, a lot of preparation, a lot of rehearsals, a lot of, and briefing is very important before we start.
Ah, okay.
Each one already knows what he or she has to do.
This is the team. This is
The team,
RTVM.
yes.
Okay.
And we also do that when we when we do coverage outside.
Mm.
We even prepare for in cases of emergency.
Mm.
Each one has already an assignment. Ikaw ang equipment, ikaw ang ano, and even the positioning of the vehicles ready to go. So that in case something happens, yun lang ang aasikasuhin mo. Kunyari, ilaw, editing equipment, camera, yun lang. So everybody is aware. So when, thank God, wala naman nangyaring ganon, but at least you are prepared for all the aspects of the event.
Oo. 6 zonas lang yun eh.
Yes,
Diba?
yes.
Okay, some bigger events that happened. APEC,
Oh, yes.
ASEAN,
Yes.
and then the Centennial.
APEC was memorable.
Hindi ba ang sakit ng ulo no? You had 20
Very
plus.
memorable because I think the President of the United States then was Clinton,
Yes.
and it was held in Subic, and we had a problem with a local government official, and everything was all set. The place was very limited because of security.
Correct.
So we were fortunate to have at that time our press secretary was Rod Reyes, and he's a very mild, kind, and peaceful person. There was a problem that we had because one local government official interfered with what was agreed on. So he tried to pull ranks kasi executive director lang ako eh. But he didn't know that I was the head of the broadcast pool. So he pulled ranks and all that, and that created a problem. So I said, and he threatened to report me to the press secretary and the president. I said, go ahead, sir. Please do. Of course, the president and the press secretary already knows that everything was already in place.
Yes.
So if he puts his finger on something, it's going to disrupt everything.
Right.
So in the end, he realized. Well, of course, he never apologized.
But you had to do your job. I mean,
That's what I was saying,
that
sir.
was APEC.
That was agreed upon. It was the president is aware of all these arrangements, and to change it now would entail a lot of, and we have no time. A lot of work, and we have no time. But of course, you want to save face to this particular network.
But that was all live, no? Yeah. No?
It was.
Oh,
It was.
The ministerial was in
Oh,
the
boy.
ICC, and then the Leader Summit moved to Subic, no?
It was the scariest thing. The scariest thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then it didn't end there. I don't know if I can say this. There was a luncheon in honor of President Clinton held at the ceremonial hall. And Madame Ming had this executive band. Remember that?
Yes.
And they were playing, and of course President Clinton is a saxophonist, right?
Right.
And he wanted to play. The president called me and said, President Clinton is going to play, to join, to jam. Of course, the Secret Service came to me and said, don't cover that, don't cover that. And I said, "Yeah, I cannot get your, I don't get instructions from you.
Right.
I get instructions from my president. I'll ask my president." So I did. Kunin mo na lang, Glo, sabi niya. So we did. But we did not release it because that was the agreement.
Yeah. Yeah.
For purposes of documentation, that happened. But to release it
Right.
is a different story.
Correct.
So we were protecting President Clinton because I think at that time something was happening in the States.
In the States,
And
yes.
they didn't want to show that, well, this is happening here, here is your president.
having a nice time here.
having
Yeah.
a great time.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
did not. And so the American embassy was very appreciative of that
Yep.
and thanked me for it.
Tita Loli, tell me about the coverage of the papal visit in 1995. You were also part of the broadcast
Yes,
pool, right?
yes,
It
yes,
was-
yes. It was hard
Mm.
because we were warned not to kneel and kiss the papal ring because at that time,
John Paul.
saint, he's already a saint now, John Paul II was already in cane.
Right.
I think his Parkinson's was already
Yeah.
starting. But you see, you cannot control the people who were lined up there. There were several who violated it. And it was very pleasant. It was very memorable for all of us. Yes. And
Did the president ask RTVM to cover or?
yes,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
did. We did. We did. The horrible part was in the grandstand. Oh,
World
of
Youth
course,
Day. Yeah.
millions came, and so we had our own cordoned off area for the live coverage and all our facilities. Of course, you cannot control the people, but somehow we managed. Well, very memorable.
Any instructions the FVR noon? I mean, he
No.
wasn't really, not really.
He, in hindsight, he never called us to say, "Oh, ganitong gagawin ninyo." No. Really, never, not one instance.
Coordinate with the Vatican people. Yun na yun.
Yeah, actually, this is what happens when locally or in foreign trips, you have a meeting with your counterpart and then we discuss what we need and what they want. So you get to an agreement. So there are times it's difficult because you want as much as possible
Right.
the best shot of the president. But there are some limitations, security and all that. So all of those have to be trashed out before the event. And it has to be followed.
Yun lang talaga hindi. You served in RTVM under President Cory, President Ramos, and a short while also with President Erap, right?
And President Arroyo.
And President Arroyo. So four.
So I served for President. In
I was going to
during
ask
President,
I was going to ask if you have comparisons. Who was
Well,
the most difficult?
they have they have different style of leadership.
Mhm.
So I cannot say, but I would say that President Ramos was the most, kasi President Aquino has stated that she is a transition president.
Yes.
All she did was to put things back in its place. Democracy, the democratic way of running a government and all that. And she had a very good cabinet that helped put all of these things in place, from dictatorship to democracy. And then came President Ramos, and we were on our way up. President Erap was starting to follow, because he believes and trusts and he admires President Ramos, but he didn't have a chance.
Yeah, it was short.
Yeah,
Short-lived,
short-lived,
yeah.
short-lived. In the case, so when he left, when President Arroyo came in, we were ready to turn over the, everything to the President Arroyo's
Team.
staff team. What was, how shall I put it? What was significant for me when President Estrada won? I was prepared. I was asked by Secretary Reyes if we could help, if I could help in the inaugural speech of President Estrada. And I said yes. I said, sir, we are ready to turn over whoever is going to take over, because the position of executive director of Radio TV Malacanang is a presidential appointee.
Yes.
It is not anybody who appoints, but the president. And the person must have a comfortable relationship with the president, trust and confidence. So that's important. So of course, new president. So I'm sure meron siyang kanyang team. But when we were preparing President Estrada for his inaugural speech, inauguration day, and all that oath taking, he called me and said, and offered the position. I was surprised, and he thought that I didn't like to serve him. I said, no, Mr. President, I'm just surprised, kasi you have people. I mean, he's with the industry, and this is television. So anyway, that was it. But in the case of President Arroyo, I thought it was time to go and do what I wanted to do for a change.
Nag-full term ka ba kay GMA? Hindi na.
No, I stayed until I asked for a lateral transfer, and only until I retired. Until I retired, but not in Malacanang anymore. I asked for a different
assignment. Okay.
assignment.
Let me get back to FVR. Your view of him as a public servant, how did FVR, as the role model of a public servant, impress on the RTVM? Napuwersahan bang magtrabaho lahat?
No,
Na sobrang
no.
kada.
He was very inspiring
Okay.
and encouraging.
Oo.
He would, by his example, by his uh, personality, we just felt that we should do better. That we should meet up to his standard. Because he has a very, very admirable working style and multitasking and all that. Nice, very nice. We were working as a team.
Did you like working for him? Did you enjoy
Yes,
it? Huh?
I enjoyed it very much
Talaga?
despite the despite the hard work. But
Even though-
we managed to have to laugh and
Even though 24/7 yung ano.
yeah, kasi alam mo, I think I think uh, I think what made us enjoy despite the hard work was there was teamwork. Number one yan. Teamwork. Tulungan.
Yeah. Yeah.
When one needs help, we
There's a helping hand.
immediately, even if it is not your job, but damage controlling, number one. We damage control immediately. Walang ano yan ha, walang tawag-tawag.
Yeah.
Hoy, tulungan mo ako dito. Huwag nakikita ng nahihirapan yung isa. That was nice.
Yeah.
I don't remember any disputes, any intrigues. Really. It was nice.
So,
Hard work.
FBR's work ethic inspired.
Oh yes,
Or
his
served
work
as an
ethic.
ano,
Yes.
served as an
His
example.
work ethics was very, very good. And encouraging.
Over the years, you'd meet each other.
Yes.
What were those?
Yes,
You visit him during birthdays.
yeah. I am, as I said, our work relationship with the various sections of in Malacanang has established friendship even after Malacanang. So we keep in touch, and when we see each other, we're very excited to see each other, like you, like Stella and May. And yes, we get in touch. I am very fortunate to be invited all the time when it's his birthday or some special events like book launching
yeah.
and all that. So I make it a point to go because I know that I will meet the persons that we used to work together
Right,
with.
right. It's like a reunion always.
Yes,
Whenever.
and it's a happy reunion.
What are those meetings like? I mean, do you kid each other about?
Oh yes. One
What's
time,
it like?
I will tell you one incident. Me and my friends went to Richard Merck had this lounge in Greenbelt, or was it
Yeah.
in Glorieta? So the executive band used to play there also. So we went there as a group of friends, mga barkada. And so happened that President Ramos was there.
Oh.
Because Mrs. Ramos was going to play
Oh. Okay.
part of the band. And so after they played, I went to pay my respects. And I think there was a TV team wanted to interview him. So he gets his... I always tell him pala, or his staff, when he was president, to always bring a comb aside from the paper and the face towel. So he gets his comb and says, "Glo, do your thing." So of course, I played. I got, and then Mrs. Ramos says, "Glo, feeling president pa rin siya." So I combed his hair and I got my compact. I said, "I hope, Mr. President, you don't mind." And I powdered him and prepared him. he and I said, "Mr. President, will you wear your glasses?" And he puts his hand inside like that, and then he does that.
Right.
He loves to pull some tricks.
So it's always a fun time, you know?
Ah,
whenever
yes,
whenever
yes.
you meet up with each other.
Yes.
Have your first impressions of him, changed over the years?
No.
Talaga? Ganun
No.
pa rin?
He's consistent. He's he is fatherly, brotherly, friendly. I mean, that's my personal impression.
What would be your best FBR moment?
FBR moment. Best FBR moment. Oh, when I asked permission, we had a very, 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 how shall I say, hectic trip in the United States. And we ended up in Silicon Valley, San Jose. And that was the last stop. And we were all exhausted. And of course, I have to ask permission. Even if I ask permission from my immediate superior, the press secretary, he would always tell me, "Hindi ako ang magbibigay ng permiso sa iyo. Humingi ka ng permiso sa presidente." So I would go to the president, tiyempohin ko muna yung good mood siya.
Yeah.
You know, president has the whole Philippines on his shoulder. So I go to him and I say, "Mr. President, may I ask permission to stay behind for 2 or 3 days?"
Yeah.
Just, for
Personal
staff.
time.
And
Yeah.
then he goes and asks, "Bakit? May boyfriend ka dito?" So I answered, "Hahanap pa po ako." And he laughed. That I remember very well.
Nice one. What about your best memory of FBR as a subject as a TV subject?
As a TV subject. Oh. When he was interviewed by Corina Sanchez, it was a weekend. And one of the topic was the presidential seal. So after it all went well, and you have to ask permission to go home already.
Right.
Because we are on call, especially me, 24 hours.
Right.
I have this, ano bang tawag nung araw, pager.
Yes.
I have a pager, I have a radio, I have, wala pa yatang cellphone noon, wala pa. So it was a pager and a radio. So you can be called anytime.
Right.
And so he said, "Okay, you may go home." Okay. I was on my way, I remember this, I was in Makati on my way to do yung family things, groceries. And all of a sudden, my radio,
Radio.
and it was Balong. He says, Ma'am, kausapin kayo ni Presidente. And of course, we fool around all the time. That's how we amuse ourselves. And I said, oo, sige, Presidente, kaalis ko lang dyan, pauwi na ako. And all of a sudden, the President comes on the phone. And the radio says, Glo, you don't have to come back. I just want to ask you a favor. He says, can you call Corina and remove that part, edit out that part of the presidential seal. Kasi di ba sa seal, presidential seal, there is an animal there that's a sea lion or what. Well, he was not so sure that if it is a sea lion or what. It's a weird, it's like a mythical
Yes, it is.
animal, mammal or whatever. So I said, Mr. President, I can go back. No, you just call. You call and say that. So I said, okay, thank you, Mr. President. So I had to call Corina. And she was very nice naman. And she did that, include that in her interview. That was a moment of... I thought that was funny and at the same time scary because, you're fooling around with the aide-de-camp and all of a sudden the president goes, oh, sige na, si presidente ka na and all that. Glo.
What do you think would be FBR's legacy as president?
Oh my goodness. He has put the Philippines in the world map. He has the Philippines has gained a respect, and the Filipinos were proud to be Filipinos because of the work he has done, the economic growth, and as he said, we are the gateway to the Asia Pacific.
Yeah.
So that was what he established. And the foreign relations was very good, very high, and we were respected.
Yeah. Yeah.
That, I believe, is legacy. He was a good leader. Good leader.
Thank you very much for your time.